there we go. Should be good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Hello. What's in here?
It's water kefir.
Water and caffeine?
It's water kefir.
What is that?
It's just probiotics. More probiotics than even food. It'll grow on you. Oh man. How do you not like that? That shit is delicious.
Your taste buds don't work, dude.
Fucking
Your taste buds don't work. For some reason, I don't know if you burnt them on a hot bowl of oatmeal when you were little.
You just did not have enough varied taste growing up. You ate too much, like, traditional, small...
It's disgusting, bro. I appreciate you sharing it with me.
That's crazy that you don't like that.
It's like
Everyone
if you left Kool-Aid out for like 3 weeks.
Sweet, it's naturally fizzy, it's healthy. I think what it was growing up, you did not eat enough varied foods to like give yourself variety. You probably just ate like mac and cheese.
Bro, this is bitter and what's the word? Pungent.
Yeah.
It's like someone took like a sweet, light, bubbly thing and then they just like threw pungence in it.
Because it's fermented.
Yeah.
Well.
Ugh. Anyways, thank you.
You're welcome. I want you to drink it all so I can watch you suffer with each.
Okay, when I get rich, I'm gonna buy so much beef jerky.
Yeah.
That day that you gave me that bag, before I left, I ate it all. Like, immediately.
Yeah.
It was so good. It's like garlic and onion.
Yep.
So what were you saying before? Do you remember?
Yep. So, when I was young, and I still had that youthful exuberance and enthusiasm, I used to always tell myself, and I used to literally I do remember holding myself accountable to these rules. Take as many adventures, big or small, as you can, especially if it means a new experience. Have as many interesting conversations as you can with anyone and everyone. And anytime you have an opportunity to step up to that fear in your day-to-day life, fucking do it. Those were the 3 rules. And I used to do it, and I just remember.
Wait, so you said they were take as many adventures as you can.
Have as many interesting conversations as I can.
Okay.
Step up to fear whenever you have the opportunity within reason.
Yeah.
But, which just plays into the first 2, because that's really what's holding me back to the first 2. But those are the 3 rules I used to always say.
I really focus on the 3rd one a lot.
Right. And
I feel like the 3rd one sort of can encapsulate the other 2, you know?
It can. For me, stepping up to the fear, and just the way I think about things, as a sensory type, like you're an intuitive type, so you can drop. For me, like, I need explicit. I need explicit. Like, me stepping up to fear, it's like, what does that mean? So that's why I have the first 2, because that's, for me, giving me myself explicit instructions. And for me, a lot of the time, it sounds like for you, you, like, step up to the fear first, and then you go on that adventure. But for me, it's the act of going on the adventure or starting conversation, sometimes before I'm ready, is what gets me ready. And I don't feel like I'm forcing myself, like, with the whip to my back. I feel like that's my process. But perfect example is all these scooters have been around the city, and I always see people on them, and I'm like, that looks fun. And I've had people say to me, oh dude, they're so much fun. And yet, how many opportunities have I had after work to go downtown and just have an afternoon zipping around downtown? That would be a totally new adventure. Totally fucking new. Totally out of my comfort zone. But how many times have, instead of doing that, I go home to sit on that goddamn seat and get on that goddamn laptop to watch YouTube. And that's just not the way to live life.
That's why, honestly, I think, like, when I do live in a home again, like, I don't think I'm going to get Wi-Fi.
Right, yeah.
Like, I did that the whole summer in Colorado. I didn't have my smartphone, and I didn't, and I was living in a fucking tent, or like a barracks, basically, that just had water and electricity, and that's it.
Yep.
And I was just like, so if I wanted to go get on the computer or get on the internet, like, I had to go to, like, the library or a coffee shop. And, like, that made me respect that time a lot more.
Yeah.
Made me respect that time a lot more. It's just like, we're not designed to have that ease of
Right. We're not
dopamine stimulation like that easily, just like at our fingertips. Like, it's not. And it's, I don't even think it's really worthwhile to, maybe it is. I'm sort of exploring this right now, actually. But, like, I don't think it's worthwhile to waste your, basically, willpower on, like, fighting the addiction that's, like, really close to you, right? It's like,
just get rid of it.
if you have an issue, just like, if you're an alcoholic, you know, just don't surround yourself with, don't have a fucking full bar in your house, you know? Like, so.
Yeah.
But I have been exploring recently, like, trying to not be so,
Stoic?
no, not be so reactive to the impulse. I went 8 months without the smartphone with, like, a little knockoff BlackBerry, and, like, so now, like, when I wake up, my impulse is not as powerful to, like, grab the phone. Like, I can actually, like, sit there and breathe. Like, I'm, like, softer in my body. Like, I'm more able to say no. And if I could do that way more and, like, beat the phone addiction while having the conveniences it offers, like, that would be fucking sick.
Yeah.
But right now, too, like, I'm staying at a buddy's, and I'm like, I heard someone's advice, and it was really good. It's just never bring your phone into your bedroom.
Correct, yeah. Yep.
Which I like, too.
That's what I do. I leave it out.
But that shit, like, it's horrible. Or, like, I'll just leave my phone at home for a day.
Yeah.
I did that the other day.
Yep.
And that was good. And then I could feel myself, even though I've only had a smartphone again for, like, maybe a month. Like, I could feel myself when I was walking around at work. Like, I could feel, like, the impulse. Like, the dopamine, like, impulse of, like, ugh. Like, grab it, pick it up, grab it. And then I, like, go and, like, it's not in my pocket. I'm like, oh, shit. And then that was the only thing that would give me the opportunity to then, like, sink into that addiction tension.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough fucking having a job where you need to be able to be contacted. I leave my phone at home as often as I can.
Yeah.
But I wish I could do it a lot more. I guess I kind of could. But, like, yeah, I couldn't go to work without it. I take notes on it. I do all this shit.
Can't take notes in a notebook?
I could, but, like,
Yeah.
then I carry my notebook around every time. I'm, like, flipping through notes, trying to find my last, when I have my client last. Do I then later put in the phone? Because, like, convenience and the phone.
There's definitely pros and cons.
Yeah. Well,
That's why I ended up getting it again. It's
there's
like,
cons and pros as well.
what the hell does that mean? What do you mean there's cons and pros?
It means what it means.
It means the same thing I already said it meant.
Yeah.
Pros and cons. Why did you say that? I don't understand why you said that.
There's sometimes not a reason for this.
Oh my god. This is so gross.
Let me see it.
You're like, oh wait, that's just the water that I left out for like 3 weeks on the counter. Might be.
No, it is old.
What do you mean it is old? You fuck. I hate you.
It's the cafe my roommate was meant to drink and didn't. It's a couple of those ones.
You bitch.
It's not gross. There's still caffeine, but it's not nearly as fizzy. It's not what it was. It doesn't,
I hate you.
You don't have to drink it. I mean, now it's just sugar water. You can tell there's no caffeine in it. Well, maybe a little bit. It's okay. But if you throw up later, you know why. But yeah. That's funny. Yeah, man, it's tough. I've been trying to figure out this diet thing. Because I do functional patterns, I can't build muscle mass. Because I can't build muscle mass, I can't really eat as much. And so I need to be more careful with what I eat. Last week I was eating really well, and then I was going to have a cheat meal.
Not to interrupt, but I know what this smells like now.
What?
It smells like old hot dog water. That's what this shit fucking smells like. It smells like old boiled hot dog water, bro. That shit's fucking disgusting. I hate boiled hot dogs. So many traumatic memories of having to eat boiled hot dogs growing up.
I've never had.
And like every time I saw the boiled hot dogs, knowing like my parents don't love me. Like every time I saw boiled hot dogs.
I've never had boiled hot dogs. So.
They're gross.
That tastes
Literally, it's like, why would you fucking microwave them? Like microwaving them is better than boiling them. Like wet, soggy meat is not good.
No, it's not.
I guess people do boil sausages, or no?
Never heard of any of that.
It's the same shit. Don't feed your kids boiled hot dogs.
Don't treat them like boiled hot dogs.
Dude, yeah, but that girl was so... I can't even describe to you how, like, beautiful she was. I was just like, oh my god, like, stop being so beautiful in front of me.
I would have loved to be able to see her.
It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Like, her skin looked like the softest thing I've ever seen in my life. It looked like the softest, healthiest thing I've ever seen. I was just like, the pristine human. I'm glad I talked to her. Right when she told me at the end, though, I went up and talked to her, and she told me, like, all right, well, have a good day. I was just inside, you know, you hear that faint sound of glass breaking. you're just like, okay. I didn't expect this to go anywhere anyways, but yeah, it still hurts.
Oh, my neck. Fucking dude. Yanking on it too much.
Yeah, but it's just like, so I'm just over like pretending whenever I'm trying to
Meet women?
game or be with women or like, you know, form relationships, whatever kind of relationship that is, sexual or otherwise, you know.
Yeah.
When I'm in that process, like I just don't want to pretend anymore. Like I've become like more and more aware how like pretending has like this like sort of like sickly feeling to it. It's like it's bad. It just feels gross, and it like starts to it's like I'm sure a lot of people have this experience with any addiction. Like it's a feeling of like hollowing yourself out. Like you get more and more hollowed out. I think that's associated with like a dopamine depletion feeling almost. It's like this. It's a similar feeling I get when I'm like on my phone too long.
Yeah.
It's like an empty, sort of hollow, like depleted,
yes.
like cellularly depleted feeling.
Yes. Yes.
It's gross, and I'm just like,
yes.
I don't want to pretend anymore. Like the more and more I pour into it, the more I like it. Which is, you know, the truth will set me free. Like if I'm not good enough for a woman that I want to be with right now, like I'm just getting to the point where I want that to be reflected back to me. Like
Right.
I want all of my like illusions, like more and more of myself and who I think I am and where I am and how good I am or not. I want them to just be like disseminated, just like a fine mist, just like fragmenting off into the fucking world.
Interesting. That's deep.
Well, it's just because like the fake it till you make it thing, like you're pretending to be this thing, and like even if you get the girl, the way you did it was through
False.
not being yourself.
Yeah. No.
And
for
so
sure.
like there's a feeling of a deep undercurrent of like self-betrayal.
And it's also just the entire relationship. There's an undercurrent of shakiness and falsehood.
Exactly. And then
So-
you've set a precedent for walking on eggshells and trying to be a certain thing and not being able to like connect to them where you are.
And you wonder why it doesn't fucking last.
Exactly. And so like, and I've also realized like like I was wondering, I thought a lot about cuckolding, because like I've had fantasies of that before, and then
What
I've
was
had
that
fantasies
again?
of the opposite thing. Cuckolding is like where you get off on like watching your girlfriend get fucked. So like I've had fantasies of like watching of like that, but then I've also been on the other side and like had fantasies of like, oh, I get whatever girl I want, and, like I'm the stud, and like it's gone back and forth. And I thought a lot about it because like on the internet there's a huge movement of like, you know, it came from Trump a lot, or like 4chan and Trump or whatever, and they were like, don't be cucked, bro, like all these liberals are getting cucked. Like it started turning into an insult on the internet recently, like basically like
You're watching your girlfriend.
yeah, basically like you're a pussy, like
Yeah.
you would like watch your girlfriend get fucked and then you would apologize for it,
Right.
like you would apologize for her, you know, you'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry, like I didn't watch you good enough, or you know, like I'm sorry I didn't make you feel good enough to where you didn't feel like you have to do this or something, you know, like, so it's just like a new term for pussy, like a. And so, like, that brought up a lot of shame for me, because I'm like, oh, like, is there something wrong with me? Why do I like this? And I thought about it really hard, and I tried to think about it from, like, an evolutionary context. And I thought about it, and it was just like, well, a lot of time that fantasy comes from when I feel powerless, when I don't feel very studly, when I don't feel very empowered. And then there's almost like it's like a cathartic release of, like, this sort of, like, sick, like, ego, structure where you like, where you know you're pretending to like be good enough for a girl. And so often like sexual fetishes are us sort of releasing our repressed emotions.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure.
Repressed desires.
For sure.
And so like it gets, so like there's a guilt associated with like not being enough for your partner.
Yeah.
And so, like, cuckolding, I think, is the sexual sort of expression of releasing that guilt through letting them have another.
Oh.
And then I was thinking about it, like, how would that serve us biologically? Like,
Well,
across our evolution.
Well, you want the fittest to breed, so.
Exactly. And so we're a social pack animal. And so it's not only our genes that we're trying to get down to the next generation, it's also the genes that we hold that aren't activated, that are expressed in the other members of our tribe. So a tribe that had men who had a really intense desire to have their women fuck the most sexually fit men in the group, even if that wasn't them, those tribes would be more likely to survive rather than a tribe where it was only, I just want to have sex no matter the cost of the entire community and the next generation and how strong they might be or not. So like that's sort of like the theory I developed, and what that made me realize is that like, and I also learned this from other emotional experiences I had, but like I realized that my desire and what makes me feel good is not only coming from like what I'm gonna get. It's like when I talked about like if I show up to a woman and like I don't like get her, then like I don't get her when I'm expressing like who I am and where I am, as strong as I am right now and as capable as I am right now, attractive as I am right now or not, you know, like part of me, like it's a sweet release. It still feels better to be told no, being who you are at that moment and showing up who you are instead of pretending and playing games, than it does pretending and then getting the girl.
Right.
And I realized, like, similar to the whole evolutionary advantage to the cuckolding fantasy, it's just like, well, now I can feel in myself like I really do want what's best for that woman. So if I'm not what's best for that woman, like I'm gonna go work on that on my own for sure, because I want the best for sure. But also, like, if I'm not the best for her, like, I do desire for her to have the best that she can have.
Yeah.
So it sort of like changed my whole relationship with like how I approach women now. It's not like It's not all about me anymore.
Right. Interesting. Interesting.
And it still feels bad, you know, to be rejected, but it feels better than to be accepted for who you're not, for who you're pretending to be. And it also feels good too, because it's just like when you do that and when you just continually show up with who you are and how you feel at that given moment, even if you're barely able to talk, you know, like to a pretty girl or whatever, then like in my experience, like the more I do that, the more I show up in my truth, the more I feel a deep level change and a deep level growth. Whereas when I'm pretending, I'm stifling all of that inside where I really am. And so like, even if I get the girl, like I'm not growing. Like I don't feel better next time I go talk to a girl. In fact, I probably feel more neurotic until I get into state, you know, like, which I have to like force myself to do and like betray myself. And I also realize like pumping your state up way too hard when you're like trying to like be attractive and be like the guy and whatever, like when you're pumping your state up so hard, like it actually reduces your ability to empathize and like connect with the girl, in my experience, because like you're all of your energy is like dancing monkey energy, and it's like all up here, and like you're not grounded at all. And when you're not grounded and relaxed, like you can't see them, like you can't see how they feel, you can't feel how they feel, in my experience. And so like you're so overcharged with like trying to be this fucking like dancing monkey or so cool or whatever, like there's not any even relating going on. Like there's no like seduction, like there's no like tango like dance of seduction with the pushes and the pulls and the lean backs and the you know, giving into, like there's none of that, because like your state, you're so excited, you're like a kid like fucked up on candy, right? Like that's, you know, not what a woman is gonna typically want. Even though they might laugh at the kid who's fucked up on candy, like it doesn't mean they want to be with them. Doesn't mean there's any deep pull to like want to be with that, you know, and as it should be, they shouldn't want that, you know.
Yeah.
So like all of that has like changed how I see like approaching a woman that I'm attracted to, and like game in general. And
so I'd like to bring up, kind of pivot here and go back to the when you talked to the girl at the dance, and you went up to her and said, "You have a very nice energy.
yeah.
Can I give you a hug?" Whatever. And then after that, it sounds like you kind of just stood there, and then she said, "Well, have a nice day."
Yeah.
Well, it sounds to me like she didn't have much of an opportunity to say anything else, because as the guy tends to be especially since you approached her, it was on you to lead it. And so my question is, can you honor your inner feelings and yet still give the push for to still carry on and see what happens? Because it sounds
even
like,
though you're in the moment, still trying to get a certain ending.
Well, not even trying to get an ending, but you weren't even having a conversation, right? Like you went up with the purpose. What was the purpose? To connect with her, to let her know how you felt. But it seems like you stopped. Like
My purpose was to express my truth, where I was and how I felt, while attempting to relax into the tension and anxiety and ground myself as I was doing it.
would that not have been a better exercise if you had made it last longer by continuing to talk to her? And in other words, after the hug, instead of standing there and looking at her, which would have made her feel maybe uncomfortable, and then like, or however, and then be like, okay, I want to go. If you'd carried it on, try to carry it on, I just start talking to her normal, and then seeing how long you could keep the conversation going while sitting in your, or would that have been forcing it?
Well, so rationally, like you're super right, like you're super correct rationally, and that's the thing, like, so basically where my thought process as it was happening, as I stopped talking after like we hugged and whatever, was like, no matter what happens right now, I want to stay grounded.
Right.
And at that point, with the command that I had to be able to stay relaxed, if I were to say anything at that moment, it would have been coming from a neurotic place, because I was doing everything I could just to relax into my body. And so talking is sort of inherently neurotic.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, it's inherently like mind location. disagree with that once I become so fucking enlightened as fuck or something, and I'm like always operating my consciousness around the center of my body. I don't know. But yeah, so in that particular moment, if I were to have said anything else, I would have had to have started jumping back into like my headspace of like, and it basically would have been coming from a place like this. Wait. Don't leave, don't do anything. Wait. I want to distract you. I don't want you to leave. Yeah. I'm acting from a place of trying to avoid a rejection rather than pursuing a fucking sexy ass connection with you. Yeah. I don't want to get blown out.
Yeah.
And coming from a place of fear.
No, yeah.
So for me, like the focus of the whole process was like, how can I let go of my fear by relaxing into it? And at that moment, I didn't really have the capability to say anything else that wasn't going to come from a place of tension and constriction. So for me, it was like, it was understanding that one interaction is like part of the larger process where it's like, the more that I do that, the more it's going to become effortless that I say something else. Right. And I don't clam up because I used all of my sort of like expansion, like bravery, let go, stand up in the fear energy just to say the first thing that I said to this girl. You know, like it's going to get easier. Yeah. But at that moment, I just didn't feel like I could do that.
Right. Okay.
And really stand in my truth, I guess, was the...
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that's like just I guess coming from a place of, in terms of pickup, coming from like the most inner game you can is basically what it sounds like you're, I guess I don't want to call it an approach, you're not really looking for an end, but you're like, I'm going to focus so much on what would consider my inner game, knowing and feeling that the rest will follow as that gets stronger.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, because it's just about trusting your body. The more that you show up like that, the more that you stand in your like sexual energy, soft, fun, not like fucking dark, dangerous, compressed sexual energy, but like you're just like softly flowing sexual energy. Like the more that you stand in that, like the more that you're going to develop essentially that self who can just stand in that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're first developing that self, it takes everything you have just to stand there in it. Just to even be able to sit at home by yourself in a quiet, silent meditation and feel that energy. Even before you go up to a woman, like that's next level. Like that's scarier. You know, so like there's sort of a gradation of building that self, and that's the self that I want to feel. I want to imbibe in being that me.
Right.
You know? And like there's no way for that to develop without you allowing that to be the bedrock or the foundation of like all of your interactions. Is like sitting in that. And like everything else coming from that, building on that foundation. But like if I'm like sort of sacrificing that foundation so that I can then say all these words and do all these things, well then it's a house of cards. Like it's just gonna collapse. It's gonna collapse later. Like you might even have sex with a girl, you know, but like you reinforce neuroses, and and later it's gonna fall apart. Unless, you know, she was pretending, and then you just had two people, this happens a lot, two people who are pretending, get attracted to each other, and they have a relationship where they're pretending with each other. And it's like, I don't want that either, because like I've had that in part already too. Like I don't fucking want that. Like my increasing like relationship is just, or like not relationship, but like I more and more feel that the vast majority of people are mentally unwell.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like the majority, like there's like emotional health is like a pyramid. With the amount of people who like sit on the pyramid, like the most people are like on the bottom of the emotional health pyramid. So like a lot of guys will say like, this doesn't matter, like do whatever you have to do to like get the girl, you know, like because they're all like this. It's like, well, they're not. There's an emotional health pyramid, and it's true for women and men. And the more relationships I've been in with people, including myself, that I'm working to get out of, like on the bottom of the emotional health pyramid, like the more I don't fucking want that anymore, and I continue to raise my standards. So I'm not looking for the average like neurotic woman to interact with. I'm not looking to like meet her where she is. You know what I mean? Like if there's a blowout because like I don't want to meet her there in the pretending phase, like that's fine. You know, in fact that's good because then it brings me to like the next person faster. You know, so I don't. So yeah, just. So for me, it just. Every repetition of interaction I get, it becomes more and more obvious that standing in that energy is the foundation. Relaxing into the tension around your like sexual area or your belly or your chest or whatever is the foundation for like all fun, healthy, like seduction interactions.
It's very interesting you say that. I think back in my life to all the times I've had an opportunity, to all the times, I mean, one that comes to mind in particular where there was a girl that had come into where I work and started working there, and she liked me. Like, she was intrigued by me right off the bat. Like, she was very warm, very excited. She always was excited to see me. And like, I can't help but think that if I had just been, for so long, not, if I had just been genuine, I feel like I would have actually got her. Genuine in that, if I had told her how I genuinely felt, like, you have the best energy, like, can we just meet out? Can we get a drink sometime or something? Be genuine, but instead, because I'm so used to thinking in terms of like, I have to do A, B, and C to build attraction and to make myself a value and scarcity and this and that. That I did not. I was just so worried about like trying to put on this show. I mean, I should have, and I just feel like but it's it's hard to just be yourself and to be authentic and vulnerable and genuine. But in that instance, at least, I feel like it would have served me much better. And it's hard to think where in life can you be. For me, it's hard to think where in life can I be more genuine and authentic and not doing something because I think it's what's meant to be done. And then at the same time, having smooth social interactions, because I have a client, I may not be in the mood to talk, smile, whatever, but they're paying me for an experience, and I don't know, it's tough to know where to draw the line,
For sure it is. It's all a judgment call.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever I don't know, I lean into the direction of what feels most important to me in my life, unless it's fucking blatantly obvious that I need to like basically like shut up about what I'm feeling or what I want to do, because like there's a really intense pressing need for the other person to get something from you. Right. Like if you're waiting tables, like you're going to be really good at it like if you are very confident or effortless at